Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. American politics this time. So in this video, I'd like to discuss the conclusion of Trump's impeachment trial in the Senate and what it seems to mean for the American people. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, American politics, very much like British politics, is deeply partisan. And with the Senate, who decided on whether Trump was guilty or not, controlled by a majority of Republicans, Donald Trump was never actually going to be forced out of office with this impeachment trial. That's not realistically what it was about. For that to have happened, there would have had to have been a massive sea change in the perceptions of Donald Trump on the part of the Republican support base. The reason that those opposed to Trump, including myself, wanted this trial was not to oust him in the Senate. That didn't seem realistic, but to expose him to a wider selection of the American public. Yes, the information on his betrayal of his own country and abuses of office were already out there, but very few people go out of their way to find these things out. I don't know what percentage of the American public who have a definite firm view on the Mueller inquiry have actually read the report, but I'm going to guess it's quite close to zero. But the sensational nature of impeachment hearings meant that ordinary voting Americans would see what their president had been up to. It's much more engaging. I hesitate to use the word, but entertaining. More people would therefore be paying attention, at least was my hope. The result was a foregone conclusion. To have removed Trump from office would have required Republican senators to vote against their own man in the White House. Mitt Romney did vote to convict Trump on the abuse of power charge, and he actually said something quite powerful on that. But he was the only Republican senator to do so, and he still voted not guilty on the obstruction charge as well. And the fallout from this trial could be spectacular. On the one hand, if America has been enlightened by it, then it should work against Trump for the presidential election this year. Not in the sense that he'll have lost support. I don't think it's realistic to suppose that a lot of people who previously supported Trump would go, oh no, we don't support you anymore. I don't think that's the case. But Trump is a populist, and populists are very, very good at firing up their supporters, who are very often in the minority of a much more reasonable public, and getting them out to vote. So they get a disproportionate benefit from an electoral system that is not based on proportional representation. And there are some that think that the impeachment could work in Trump's favour and create a real fervour in his support base, who will either think that he's been the subject of a witch hunt, as he keeps telling them he has, or just not care that he breaks the rules because he's doing it for them. He's got their interests at heart. Who cares? The rules are rubbish anyway. But I'm not sure that makes a difference. I think those fervent Trump supporters were going to go out and vote anyway. There have always been far more Americans opposed to Trump than for him. He didn't even win a majority in 2016 on what should be a binary issue. It's not even a straight up popular vote. He lost the popular vote. The problem was that many of those opposed to him were not fired up in 2016 and didn't actually bother to vote. This impeachment, along with Trump's behaviour over the past few years, needs to get those people to go out and vote this November, making sure they're registered to vote, because there's even dirtier tricks applied in the United States than there are in the United Kingdom on that front. And to actually get out, to actually regret not having got out and voted in 2016 and deciding, well, I'm going to make good in 2020 and sort this out. But if the impeachment doesn't work to expose Trump's most obvious crime, which to my mind is not even the most heinous crime, then he will win a second term, and he's already threatening dire retribution for all those who testified against him. The witness intimidation tactics that he publicly engaged in would have had him tried and convicted for that alone in any country that can reasonably claim not to be allowing anyone to be above the law. That Trump has been cleared of both charges in the Senate and cannot be tried by more conventional methods means that America doesn't really get to say that it's a nation of law any more than the UK does right now. When your head of government gets to break the law in such obvious ways without any recourse by controlling the jury in the United States and in the UK it's by controlling the prosecutors and the police, it means that our two countries are yet again twinned on a highly undesirable feature. And the impeachment doesn't really seem to have helped expose Trump, as I would have hoped. As I say, polls are disappointing. They're very disappointing. His personal approval rating, which has always been bad, is at its highest at 49%. Granted, that's not been helped by this week's mess in the Democrat primary, but it's still a worrying sign. The polls haven't really shifted in terms of those who had a view before. Amongst Trump supporters, the number of people who are not in the Republican Party, like general supporters who are not happy with Trump, which has always been a number, hasn't really shifted. It's still stuck at round about 10%-ish. Amongst those who are not particularly partisan, they're not Democrat or Republican, disapproval for Trump again hasn't really shifted. And so, if you look at polls, it doesn't look like it's really had an impact, which is really disappointing. But there is another aspect to this impeachment, aside from, exposing Trump's abuses of power. It was always about getting senators to make a stand. In acquitting Trump, dozens of Republican senators have had to exonerate him in the face of obvious evidence of his guilt. They will, of course, try and continue to claim that they're decent, honest politicians who have their citizens' backs, particularly going into elections. But to anyone following proceedings with anything like a level of diligence, they've exposed themselves as being willing to sell out their own country and damage its credibility for political advantage. Let us not forget that senior Republican senators openly said that they would not be impartial jurors. At the start of the process, before evidence has even been heard, they said they were not going to be impartial jurors and they were going to acquit him. From the likes of Mitch McConnell, they haven't even tried to claim that they're putting party politics aside, because that's what you would do. You would say, of course I'm going to be impartial. Of course we're going to take this seriously. Very important matter. Then you'd quietly listen to it all, say, that's a load of rubbish, and then exonerate him. But they didn't even do that. And they made an oath of impartiality. So they've made an oath of impartiality, and they've publicly said they're not going to be impartial. So they've publicly broken an oath and been happy to have that known across the land. And it'll be interesting to see if that level of hubris does at least bite those senators on the arse. But like I said, polls suggest not right now. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.